So one of the things that is very critical and early in your career is finding industry leading attention sources. And what I mean by this is this can be really anything. It can be industry leading magazines or like publications, whether in physical form or digital form. It can mean podcast. Those are probably the two main ones. There might be other things like industry leading YouTube channels or industry leading conferences is another one. Those are the four buckets that I personally see. There's probably more, and you could have subsets, but find industry leading publication sources and start to reach out to them. And in the case of podcasts, so I can only speak for myself and my experience. The couple things that I went after is one, I went after an industry leading podcast I think around 2018 or 19. There was three co-hosts at the time: James, Jeff, Rob, Josh, four co-hosts. And what I would do is I would listen to a podcast. They were about an hour long. They were released every Friday. And I would listen, and then I would tweet at whoever co-hosted. So in this case, this show had like rotating co-hosts. They would usually have two co-hosts and one guest. And I would tweet at whoever hosted. And I would tweet a very specific question that showed that I actually listened to the podcast. I didn't just say like, "Oh, great show," or something very generic that could almost be automated, so to speak. Like it didn't show it wouldn't show any effort if you just said "good show" or I liked episode number 6 or whatever. It didn't show that you listened or that I listened. So what I did or what I recommend, based on my experience, is saying something very specific that shows you listen to the show. Like ask a very specific question or comment on something very specific that shows you listened. So that was one thing I did, which led to me also eventually becoming a co-host with that group, and then also going around to, at the time we did road shows, which were small, like more intimate gatherings, usually 6 times a year, and did those with the group from September of 2019 was my first one, all the way through what would be December of 2021. So then I still co-host that show in particular, and then right now I guest write for an industry-leading online publication, and simply did that. At this point, I had the benefit of co-hosting, had built up a solid LinkedIn profile over the prior 4 years, and so that was relatively easy to guest write for free, not getting paid, but it's the long-term play of knowing what it will do for my brand, the businesses, and getting attention to us. So the crux of this message is mainly finding an industry-leading resource that publishes, has a lot of eyeballs, writing for them for free, commenting on their stuff that shows you have interest, that shows you listen, that shows you're knowledgeable, that shows you're learning, that shows you're hungry, to start to build that relationship and open those doors. Over time, then you will be able to be on the podcast, start to garner eyeballs, all while you're continuing to build up your LinkedIn brand, and it starts to snowball. So, find industry leading publications, digital, physical, doesn't much matter. Engage with them and continue that process, through the early stages of your career, and really never give it up, because attention at this point is so critical to what we do, and it's very tough to maintain because there's so many things vying for people's attention on a daily basis.